You are the beginning of this story. You're not the end of it, but nonetheless, the beginning is important because the beginning of the story is an effort to get you out of the way, an effort by Rudy Giuliani and Fruman and Parnas and corrupt Ukrainians like Lutsenko to get you out of the way because they felt you were an impediment to these political investigations the president so desperately wanted. Giuliani has made it abundantly clear he was in Ukraine on a mission for his client, for the president, to investigate the Bidens. And you were viewed as an obstacle that had to go, not just by Giuliani, but by the President of the United States. And if people had any doubt about it, they should do what the president asks, read the transcript. And what they'll see in that transcript is the president praises the corrupt. He praises the corrupt, Lutsenko. He condemns the just, you. And then he asks for an investigation of the Bidens. There is no camouflaging that corrupt intent. We are adjourned.
Mr. Speaker, I'll speak on condition. Mr. Chairman, you disparaged those members on this side of the aisle. We should have a chance to respond to your disparaging remarks. Mr. Chairman, I demand or speak. Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
This is the audience's reaction in the aftermath of former Ukraine Ambassador Marie Yovanovitch's testimony at Trump's impeachment hearings. And in case there was any doubt, it's not often, if ever, that a witness receives a standing ovation from the crowd after a House Intelligence Committee hearing. And yet that she did bodes poorly for Trump, considering her testimony conveyed a lifelong, dedicated diplomat who was unfairly and corruptly removed from her post as the ambassador to Ukraine because she wasn't receptive to the Trump administration's efforts to launch a corrupt extortion scheme. Even the Republicans on the committee were so moved by her situation that they almost unanimously and breathlessly thanked her for being the model foreign services officer that she was. In fact, if the GOP's intention was to ever try and discredit her, it was actually Trump himself that destroyed that possibility. During the hearing, he took to Twitter, writing, "Everywhere Marie Yovanovitch went turned bad. She started off in Somalia, how did that go? Then fast forward to Ukraine, where the new Ukrainian president spoke unfavorably about her in my second phone call with him. It is a US president's absolute right to appoint ambassadors. They call it serving at the pleasure of the president." To which Yovanovitch replied that such a tweet is, quote, very intimidating.
Ambassador, you've shown the courage to come forward today and testify. Notwithstanding the fact you were urged by the White House or State Department not to, notwithstanding the fact that, as you testified earlier, the president implicitly threatened you in that call record, and now the president in real time is attacking you. What effect do you think that has on other witnesses' willingness to come forward and expose wrongdoing?
Well, it's very intimidating.
It's designed to intimidate, is it not?
I mean, I can't speak to what the president is trying to do, but I think the effect is to be intimidating.
Well, I want to let you know, Ambassador, that some of us here take witness intimidation very, very seriously.
The point being that it's really hard to defend a president and claim he's not committing crimes as he is committing crimes in real time. And rest assured, witness intimidation and witness tampering are crimes. I know that Trump is under the impression that if you do it in broad daylight, then it must be okay, but I'm pretty sure the statute's legality doesn't depend on whether the sun is out or not. Of course, that's not to say that some Republicans didn't try to defend Trump anyway. There were a number of dutiful soldiers performing for an audience of one, including the Republican lawmaker at the end shouting some parliamentary inquiry into the void before being drowned out by the applause for the witness. And if ever there was a better metaphor for this entire hearing, you'd be hard-pressed to find it. The only thing that those Republicans who tried to discredit Marie Yovanovitch accomplished is putting themselves on record opposing a decent, nonpartisan diplomat, someone who has dedicated and nearly sacrificed her life in service of this country, who has served under both Democratic and Republican administrations, who's done the right thing on the international stage and received praise and awards for it. And for what? To defend a president whose corruption is known as clear as day? A guy who released his own summary of a call in which he asked the leader of a foreign country for the favor of an investigation into his top political opponent? A guy who withheld millions of dollars of desperately needed military aid until that favor was granted? A guy who then tried to hide the transcripts of that very call because he knew that it was incriminating? A guy who tried to block his own officials from testifying to Congress in response to a legally binding subpoena? I get that there's partisanship in Congress, but to throw a woman like Marie Yovanovitch under the bus for a criminal like Donald Trump is a travesty for anyone who values the ideals of a democracy. Ultimately though, those representatives, as partisan as they might be, are accountable to their constituents. And if those constituents were watching today, they'd have seen exactly what those who gave Ambassador Yovanovitch a standing ovation saw, that she was the victim of an extortion scheme perpetuated by the President of the United States. And they should let their representatives know that they're not willing to stand for this obvious, overt corruption, because this is bigger than partisan politics. It's about the people who represent us around the world, our position in the international community, and whether it's worth it to burn down everything we've built over the last 200 years, all in service of some cheap political win for Donald Trump. And it's about time the GOP finally realized that.